My stand is a little bit broken. I'm trying not to have a wobble head at you. Okay. Oh, well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am coming to you from the Bronx in New York, the traditional land of the Lenape people here in the United States. You've probably found this live through the Hot Angry Mom channel. Hot Angry Mom is a dark comedy series about a people-pleasing mom who discovers that anger is her superpower when a video of her epic meltdown goes viral. It was inspired by my real life, my journey to renegotiate my anger as a mom, as an artist, and as a woman in our world today. So you can check that out on the channel. You can watch our series. Please subscribe, that helps us out. Today, I am going to talk a little bit about the TV show Adolescence, Title X funding, and the essential work of artists in our time, not in that particular order. And actually, I'm just going to start because I'm feeling really anxious today with acknowledging that. I'm having a little trouble seeing, like my vision is blurry and I have a lot of like butterflies in my chest, and I can feel just under that I want to cry. So I'm taking a moment to breathe, and in addition to being a writer, a producer, an actor, a teaching artist, I'm also a voice coach. When you're an artist in our culture, you have to have many skills and do many different jobs, or at least many of us do, in order to cobble together a living, especially in a city as expensive as New York City can be. And so part of the work of a voice coach, at least in the approach that I have trained in, which is Fitzmaurice voice work, is to do some presence work. So before you can get started in anything, you have to actually be in and with your body. So I'm going to do a little landing exercise, a somatic landing exercise. And somatics have to do with our senses in order to try to be a little bit more present with you. Okay, so you're invited to join me, or you can watch me. It might just be an interesting thing to watch. I do feel a little weird because usually if I was doing this with a class or a group, everyone is participating with me and I'm not on the spot in the same way. There's a very much we're with each other. But there is no one streaming with me at the moment. So for those of you who join the replay later, thank you for being here and feel free to join me. Right now I'm sitting on a cushion. I have another cushion behind my back to make me a little bit comfortable. And I would say make yourself comfortable. Sit somewhere where you can feel grounded or connected to the floor. That could also mean just laying down on the floor. And I'll invite you to notice your breath. So when our nervous systems become dysregulated, we can use our senses to help bring us back into the presence and regulate our nervous systems. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my sense of sight. So I'm looking around my room, and maybe I will actually share a bit of this messy space that I'm in with you. That might be interesting for you. Over to my side, you can see that there's a bookcase. And actually, maybe you can see next to that, that's kind of curious. This is Mr. Bones. Mr. Bones is clearly a skeleton, and I sometimes use him to model anatomy and talk about alignment and different things like that that's helpful to learn about in voice work and for actors to know about their own bodies. I think the name Mr. Bones is delightful. It's stupid, but it makes me giggle. So, hello, Mr. Bones. I'm noticing the hat that Mr. Bones is wearing. So if you're in your own space, maybe you don't want to watch me look at my space. Maybe you want to look in your own space and find something for your eyes to land on. And just allow yourself to keep breathing. Sometimes when we focus, we hold our breath, or when we concentrate on doing something, we stop the breath. So I encourage you to keep breathing. And I'm noticing color right now. What colors do you see? I put a hat on Mr. Bones, and there are gold sparkles in the hat. And that feels a bit magical to me. It brings me delight. So while I'm seeing, I'm noticing color and shape and texture, and I'm noticing what's coming up for me. In this case, a little bit of delight, a little bit of laughter. There's still a little bit of embarrassment. I've never tried doing something like this before on a live. I can feel my breath. That's really nice, beautiful. And now I'm gonna turn my attention to sound. What can I hear? And the thing that is the most prominent in my environment, I live in the Bronx, and outside of this window is the Henry Hudson Bridge. So I can hear traffic driving by. And I have judgments about that, so thoughts start popping up. Sometimes I'll start to get irritated because I don't like that the traffic is there. I worry about air quality, I worry about sound pollution, like all of those silly thoughts. They may or may not be silly, but they come up. So I'm just noticing them, I'm allowing them. And when we notice and allow, things move through us, they don't stick. When we try to fight them or resist them, that's when they actually grow stronger. If we give them a lot of energy, whatever you put your attention on grows. But if we remember, and I'm remembering for myself right now because of how I felt this morning, if we remember that we are not our thoughts, they're just thoughts, they're little chemical reactions. There's something we can choose to pay attention to, or we can allow to pass. And I notice that my breath has dropped down into my belly a bit more. I notice that I feel a little bit of a sadness just behind my eyes. So in addition to listening to what's in my environment, I think I hear my sister-in-law is staying with us for a while. I think I hear her cooking in the kitchen. I hear the movement of what I'm assuming is plastic. I've taken in with my eyes some of the visual stimulus of my room, and something that you can't see at the moment, but just across the room, I have all of these masks from Bali. I've gone to Bali on 3 different occasions, and I've taken masks workshops, and I've trained with Balinese artists, and I've had these gorgeous masks handmade for me. And they're looking at me right now, and they make me feel a little naughty. A little mischievous. I feel a little bit better, although I also will say that I'm losing my eyesight. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I don't see as well as I used to. I used to have 20/20 vision, and now I need glasses to read. And as I'm wanting to speak to you, I'm wanting to kind of look towards the camera at you, but I don't know if the positionality makes everything a little fuzzy, so I can't quite see. Okay, this could keep going. We could work on our sense of touch. We could work on our sense of taste. We could work on our sense of smell. Interesting fact, I don't have a sense of smell. I cannot smell things. I have no meaning for smell as far as I know. I've never been able to smell the things. And I don't really know why that is. It's not a COVID thing. It's just always been, and I didn't really realize I couldn't smell until somewhere around being a teenager, when you start to question everything. And I realized that I had learned behavior around smell. So if I saw you cooking or you had flowers, I'd be like, oh, that smells so good. But not because I was actually having an experience, but because I had learned that that was the appropriate response to the given social situation. And so, yes, in college, there was drunken, sort of fratty fart situations where people confirmed, like, I really don't think she could smell. Okay, I'm not going to go into those stories. They're so dumb. In any case, and this is the moment that someone has joined on the live. Welcome. I was just doing a somatic landing process which is using my senses to get a little bit more into the present moment. Because when I started my live today, I felt so much anxiety, and I wanted to get a little more present. Today, I am hoping, we'll see where we go, to talk a bit about the TV show Adolescence, to talk a bit about Title X funding that has been frozen, and to really think about the essential work of artists in our time. That's kind of a lot. I tend to do a lot. So we'll see where we get to. First, I like to reflect on my week before I dive into some of the themes, and some of those themes are really interwoven. That's not a word. Interwoven, I think that is. Interwoven with the experiences that I've had in this last week. I am a teaching artist, and one of the fun and interesting things that I got to do last week is there's a musical at Lincoln Center right now called Floyd Collins. And in a workshop with teaching artists, we were looking at curriculum that will go into high schools for young people before they get to go see the musical. They get 4 sessions, in this case 3 before they see the musical, and then 1 afterwards. And what we're doing is trying to prepare them to go have an experience that is more informed, so they know a bit about the subject of the musical, maybe they know a bit about the form, and that maybe they have the opportunity to participate in some way in becoming creators. I think the work of teaching artists and educators, when they're effective, is really about helping people develop their own curiosity, intellectual sovereignty, like the skills to figure out whatever you want to figure out. There seems to be a misunderstanding in our culture that public education is just indoctrinating young people rather than giving young people the tools to be global citizens, the tools to be critical thinkers who can chart out their own life path and have the skills to figure the things out. So anyway, rambly. Floyd Collins. So what was happening is I was in a rehearsal room at Lincoln Center with a whole bunch of other teaching artists. And one of the lessons, the one after the students get to see the performance, is to rewrite a ballad from the musical, and the students get to come up with the lyrics and possibly sing it if they're really game, maybe make you sing it if that's where the lesson goes, or at the very least know that they have, come up with lyrics and thought about what that process and experience was like. But the reason I'm telling you this is we wanted to pick an everyday hero that we would write the songs about. So students may pick people in their communities, family members, whoever. But I offered to our community the person that I'm seeing for physical therapy, and her name is Rashida, because I have had so much pain as of late. So getting to go and have access to physical therapy and someone who's helping me to retrain my body and strengthen certain areas so that I won't have sort of habitual pain and I'll be more effective and able to do the things that I love. So I posited that Rashida, the physical therapist, was the everyday hero, and we wrote a ballad about her, and then we sang it collectively, and we took a picture as a community and changed a slide that was on the wall to say the Ballad of Rashida. And I'm telling you this because this morning I had physical therapy, and I was delighted to be able to say to this person that I don't know very well. It's not like I've been seeing her for years. I've met her for 4 appointments so far. And I was so delighted the first time that I met her by how present she was with me, how patient she was, how well she listened, and the immediate relief that they were able to give me by some of the things they were able to do with me. So in any case, I'm not going to sing that for you. I actually don't have all the lyrics with me, but I had it recorded and I was able to send it to her. And there is something delightful. She was kind of embarrassed when I mentioned to her, like, hey, a group of people you don't know wrote a ballad about you. And she sort of got really embarrassed. And then I got really embarrassed because I was like, this isn't like a weird stalkery thing. Like, oh no, like I got worried about what she might perceive, versus like a genuine appreciation of one person to another. Like what you do in the world matters, and we all have impact that we don't even realize, and how incredible would it be if we told each other, hey Ramo, I am so excited to be hanging with you as well. So Ramo is a dear friend of mine. We studied at the William Esper studio together. We had a movement class that was epic. And yeah, oh, I miss those sessions of moving. So my PT story and needing some support so that I could have the kind of free body I had back when we were young drama students. I'm delightful you're here with me. So for those people who've just sort of tuned in, this is a Hot Angry Mom Live. Every Tuesday, I'm doing something called Truth Tuesdays, which is an experiment. I am a person who prepares a lot for everything I do, and I want things to be polished, and I'm a little bit of a control freak around them. And so the experiment of showing up, Ramos says he misses those days too, and me, and I miss you. The experiment of showing up unprepared, meaning I don't have a script. I have a loose outline and some things I'm interested in talking about, and sort of speaking from wherever I am is a practice. It's a practice in courage. It's sort of for me, a way to unlearn the idea that I can't speak unless I am perfect or an expert. Which is actually to some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, because I want to talk about the TV show Adolescence. I want to talk about Title X funding and the recent freeze. And I want to talk about what part of what I think the essential work of artists is right now in our time. So far I was talking a little bit about my week. I talked about Floyd Collins, the Ballad of Rashida. Also, gossip. But kind. I won't say too much. So I went to a film on Thursday. I was offered free tickets. It was a premiere at a fancy theater, and I walked out. My dear friend Greta went with me, and I don't think we lasted for 10 minutes. I do want to say the beginning of the film cinematically was quite beautiful, and we were very hopeful. But it was an independent filmmaker who had not clearly cast actors who had training. And I'm a teaching artist. I think I'm a very generous creative. I think everyone deserves and should make art. I think it's a wellness practice, that it's essential for our society, that it's not just something that only some people get to do for a whole bunch of money. But also, it was a very heavy theme that needs to be treated with a lot of respect if you're gonna dare do it. And yeah. Oh, those people weren't talking like humans, and the writing was not supporting. We couldn't. Anyway, so we walked out. I felt a little embarrassed because I had her come all the way from Staten Island to come hang out with me to see a film, and we had to go. We had to take a walk. So that was part of my week. And I almost never will walk out of anything. And I'm actually, people that watch me watch art, watch a really kind, like mom face where I'm really enthusiastic and supportive. So, if I left, it was a thing. Last week I talked a little bit about the fact that I was doing a residency in a high school around Erica Sanchez's book, I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. I had a question in comments from someone who watched after the fact, who was really curious about the fact that it is a book that is on some banned book lists. And she wanted to know if there was repercussions for me and what was going on with that. So I want to say I did not sneak into a classroom and break out a book that was banned. I'm hired by an organization to actually teach a number of different titles or support solo performances around those titles. And the school actively chose to have this story come into the school because it might speak to some of the students in the population. And although I am not a Mexican person, the story speaks deeply to me. There are things that I have in common with Julia, the main character. Everything from, and I don't want to get too personal with other people's business, so I'll keep it light, but I'll say some of the trauma in her family's history is also the same as trauma in my family's history. And when you see that reflected in a piece of art, you know that you're not alone. And that's so meaningful. And part of what I was talking about last week was around an article that I had read about how the poem "You Are My Other Me" by Luis Valdez had been banned, and how ethnic studies and Mexican studies, I don't know why I'm putting air quotes around it, literally this is the early 2010s, had been banned in Arizona, and the fight that went on, and that there was a school official, a white man, who believed that he was pro civil rights, but he wanted to ban all ethnic studies because from his perspective it's divisive. And I was really just speaking to the fact that what I see going on right now with the current administration, scrubbing people of color, queer people, women from government websites, from recorded history, the attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion as people who are not deserving, taking things from people who are, and the idea that somehow whatever was back in the 50s or prior, this sort of whitewashing of our culture is somehow going to bring us together or make a better experience. It's literally erasing people and making people invisible. And rather than rail at what's wrong, I think I've been trying to reframe and find what's right. Meaning it's the same topic, but when I'm trying to articulate what it is for me to see myself in someone else, to see myself in a piece of art, to know that my experience isn't, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not broken. I'm human, right? We're all a little broken, but we all are, and when we know that we all are, oh God, it's comforting. It's a relief. It's a relief to know that we're human and we're messy and that we feel all of these gorgeous, complicated things. So back to that story, I relate to some of that trauma that was in Julia's family. I relate to her as a girl wanting her independence. I relate to her as an artist who had big dreams and felt like I was in a place where I just didn't feel a sense of belonging. I didn't feel like my gifts or talents or uniqueness was valued. And that hurt so much. So I wanted to come to New York City where I could find a place where I feel a sense of belonging. And that actually is going to be a huge part of my topic, which I want to circle back on when I talk about the essential work of artists, what I think that is. So I hope I answered your question about the banned book. There wasn't any real repercussions for me at the moment in doing that. Like I wasn't breaking school rules or going rogue. And literally what we did was make personal connections with the book. And we wrote letters to the artist thanking her for coming to perform. And we made a big dream ritual where we explored our dreams and then the fears and obstacles that come up when we dream, and then reframe them into something positive. And we built a big sort of beautiful ritual circle where everyone got to speak their dreams aloud. So that was a lovely experience. Those students were so generous and brave. They were like, what is Miss Mel? Like, what is she having us do? This weird ritual stuff. But what I will say as an educator is I found that a lot of young people in high schools and college level, and I've heard this from other educators as well, for a lot of young people, they're scared to dream right now. When you ask them about the future, they're very, there's a lot of young people that don't feel safe to dream because they think that there isn't going to be much future between what they see as a global climate crisis, what they see is not just what they see, there is a global climate crisis, but between wars going on, destruction, what's happening in our world, it's hard for them to name what they want, what they hope for. It's hard for them to believe that they can have it. It's hard for them to feel safe in expressing it. And that to me is utterly devastating because I definitely went through some very difficult things as a young person. And what got me through difficult times were my dreams, my hope that like, yeah, it kind of sucks right now, but in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, I'm going to go do this and see this and have this ability. And that, that gave me a lot of hope. So I think that our educators and our teaching artists, are out there doing a lot of really important work. And I'm not going back to the cuts to the Department of Education today because I don't want to get mad. Okay, there, that just let a little bit of it out. That was the topic from another video. Maybe it'll come back around. Okay, so next. Okay. This is one of the big and most exciting things of last week. I took a Grotowski conference. I'm going to say this wrong and it's going to be so embarrassing. Jerzy Grotowski. It looks like Grotowski, but all of the people that knew him were pronouncing it Grotowski, a Polish theater creator who traveled around the world to China and Bali and India and some other places and witnessed different theater forms and then brought inspiration back to Poland and then worked with a community who helped shape these theater practices, or you might think of like a training for the artist's instrument. So here in New York City, there was a 3-day conference, Friday through Sunday, where people that knew and studied directly with Grotowski came, along with incredible theater educators from some of the top MFA programs where they train actors, different kinds of professory types and nerdy art maker types and actors. Like there's a whole bunch of people from baby students all the way up to elders. I think Richard Schechner, who was there, who teaches at NYU, I think he still teaches there, who's published like 1 million books, including like ritual theater, which I think I used in a course when I was in school. He's 90 and he was there. So it was a really exciting weekend to get to be in the presence of all of these people sharing about their experiences and their knowledge and their work. I will tell you that my body is not in brilliant shape, that I have really lost in the last 6 to 8 months. A lot of muscle as I go through perimenopause, and I haven't been working out every day. I'm like, tomorrow I'm going to start, and I just haven't. So my body was really weak, and I did this form called the CAT, which is very physically demanding. You are, at least for part of it, using your arms like a push-up, and you're undulating your spine. Undulating. Yeah, okay. Undulating. Okay. Your spine, sort of waving it back and forth. In any case, while I was doing that experience, I literally had a huge emotional release and was just crying and also trying not to get loud so I didn't disturb other people, and I really didn't want to be watched in that state. But I don't know, I felt like something released from my body, and I was really grateful for that. That is not what I mean to be talking about. This is how my brain works. It just, it goes off on tangents, which is why I don't always feel awesome allowing myself the freedom of just freewheeling talking. In any case, this is what I was excited about. So, oh gosh, I don't remember Stephen's last name. So a gentleman named Stephen gave a talk. I think it was something like, do less and bear more. I was like, I don't know what that means, but I want to do less. Let me come listen to you talk. And he just sat very simply, and he described some of the Grotowski exercises and what he thought they meant when he was a young man, and now how he perceives them after decades and decades of teaching them to other people. And there's something called the tiger leap. And I'll use this as an example, but then I'll get to my point. So the tiger leap is, if you imagine there's a teacher and then there's another human, and the other human, the one doing the exercise, the actor in training, let's say, goes running at full speed at the other human. And then if I understand correctly, this person is going to duck or get out of the way. And I think you're meant to jump over this human and sort of roll. I think they use that kind of stuff in stunts, like in films. You'll see the person flying and rolling, and yeah, except that when the person is teaching this, there isn't necessarily a bunch of mats. This is not necessarily a teacher who's trained like I don't know, and how to not break your neck stuff. Like these actors are just people like me and you. I mean, maybe you're an acrobat, I don't know, but they're not necessarily at the height of like some kind of circus training when they're approaching this. And so people have different ideas about what this exercise is about. And I'm trying to remember what he thought it was about when he was younger. I think he just thought it was about, which many of us do, it's like, oh, can I complete the task and can I roll? And it becomes about the product, right? Can I do this thing? Also, it is terrifying to run full speed at another human being. So in that moment, you are setting yourself up to do a thing where you're going to intentionally make yourself really scared. So you're confronting your own fear. And then hopefully you're also noticing, how do I behave when I am really afraid? Do I pause? Do I look away? Do I pull back? What happens to me? And so these exercises are meant to be like experiments in learning more about yourself. A lot of people don't teach that particular exercise because injuries have happened as a result of that exercise. And not everyone's like, that's not necessarily necessary to do. But what I thought was so exciting, as he described a number of different exercises, is that they were all ways that people are confronting different parts of our human experience. So what happens to you when you're afraid? What happens to you when you're angry? What happens to you when you get sad? Because I think so much of what's going on in our world that is connected to the TV show Adolescence, it's connected to what is happening with the administration and our culture right now, and to what I think is essential for artists right now, is that we don't know how to be with the emotional experiences of our bodies. We think we can't bear our sorrow or our anger or our shame or whatever else comes up. We literally think we're going to die. And so we do whatever we can in order to avoid actually feeling and releasing and expressing all of these things. And there just seems to be so much confusion, right? I know as a young person, I was absolutely indoctrinated with what appropriate behavior was in different settings, in school settings, right? How does a young lady act? How are you supposed to look and dress and behave so that you can be liked and you can belong? I'm gonna come back to this belonging because this is the point I'm driving through, but I don't wanna miss something else I'm excited about. So as I was hearing him talk about the ways that we might confront these things, learn about ourselves and learn to bear them. So as artists on stage, we can have all of the experience of these many, many feelings and then share them with audiences so that we can feel them, have catharsis, whatever, recognize our humanity. Something that came up for me was shame because I went to clown school in France a number of years ago and studied with Philippe Gaulier, whose nickname is the Tormentor. I struggled through that class. Part of what would happen is I would come out onto stage with the direction to do something like run in a circle, stop here, and make everyone laugh. And I would start to enter and get interrupted and was made to understand that I was running in the circle wrong. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm running in the circle wrong. It's a fucking circle. Like, I'm running. Like, what? Right? And so every time I came to work on the stage, I would get interrupted so quickly and I could never make anyone laugh. And I felt like such a failure. And I understood that to some extent this was the point. But it wasn't just that. It was that then he would say things that would be humiliating. And then he would get the class or the group to join in humiliating you. And I remember standing there the first week on a Friday. And I had kept trying and kept trying and kept trying. And on this last day, I didn't know what he wanted. I didn't know what more I could do. I'm literally weeping openly in front of a class as I feel like I'm being attacked. And I'm like, this can't be good teaching. This can't be anything that's useful for anyone. No one can learn like that. Fuck you. Okay, so this experience made me feel so much shame that I actually wanted to like pull my skin off. I could not socialize with other people in that program. I was having a ton of really negative thoughts. It got really, really ugly. And I think about this because I'm thinking about boys when I get to adolescence and shame and the things that we feel shame and how terrible shame feels. It literally feels like we're gonna die. And so what do we do to stay alive? we try to get rid of it somehow, right? And we'll do anything to get rid of those feelings so that we don't have them, including terrible harm to other people, unless we understand that those feelings aren't going to kill us, that we can actually bear them, and that there's something to be learned from them, and there's something we can use them for to teach each other how to coexist more effectively so that we can all belong. Getting back to that. So I went up to Stephen afterwards because I asked him to speak on shame, and there just really wasn't enough time. Because I was going, is there an exercise that confronts shame? Is shame ever useful for anyone, ever? Because in my experience, it's something that closes us down. And how can that be good for an actor if you want to open up? I mean, maybe you play a character who experiences shame. So what do you do with that, right? Like, how do you make that experience real without actually hurting yourself? All the questions, like, how does this work? And he had me re-talk about that clown experience. And he said, you know what, I think your teacher might have been trying to do. He was like, had me experience it, and the shame started coming up. And he asked me what was under my shame. And at first I sort of smiled, like that socially polite, every time I'm uncomfortable, I laugh because I don't want anyone else to be uncomfortable. So I try to figure out how to take care of everyone else around me, no matter what's happening, which is a big thing for Hot Angry Mom and a lot of moms and a lot of women. And then under that, which seems like a sweetness, it seems sort of gentle, it seems like a kindness, there is murderous rage under that. And I would never let that out because that seems like a terrible thing. Like, don't let anyone see that. But I was so angry at him. And I think what perhaps Mr. Gaulier was trying to do was actually was provoke that, or allow me to discover what was under the thing that was stopping me, which I thought was him and his fucking exercise and his stupid class and everyone's stupid face looking at me, right? And that there was something under it. And I knew when I was coming out on stage, I wasn't being truthful, right? No one was responding in the way that I wanted them to respond, but I thought I was being truthful. That's because the truth of my clown might have been utter, murderous, violent rage, which obviously out on the street, we don't go expressing that, right? But on stage, in a role, as a clown, that's something really interesting and exciting to me that I absolutely want to explore in my work. And I feel like I'm starting to lose a little bit of my coherence, but I have been thinking about shame in just therapy with the therapists. And I felt like I've not known what to do with it when it comes. And it comes up for so many different reasons as a woman. As a white person, under the systems that we're currently in the ways that we've been trained. And I think for me, what I hope to do when I feel shame again in the future is literally to slow down and notice what's under it and allow that to be expressed. That's still different than attacking someone else. I think it's a misunderstanding. You see behind me, Hot Angry Mom is the dark comedy series that I wrote, created, produced, starred in. It's not advocating for us to just go like break shit up and like fuck up other people. Like, it's a misunderstanding. It was like a pilot, so it's at the beginning, the character's still confused and lost and doing things that are very unhelpful around anger. If I were able to get funding to create more of the show and write more of it, it would really be about this woman going on a journey to step into her power, and rage is a doorway for her, for that transformation, because that's where the honesty is for the things that she hasn't been willing to confront because she wants to belong, which I think is what we all want. And so for me, at this conference this weekend, the question, where did I put my book? Okay, I have my little book here. One of the questions I kept writing was like, we feel like the world's in a really dark place right now. It's really scary. That's part of the anxiety that I came into this video with today. But Project 2025 is one group of people's vision, right? It was created a while ago. A lot of people invested a lot in it. They had a vision. They're now carrying out that particular vision. That is a terrifying vision to me because it doesn't include me. It doesn't include people that I love. It doesn't allow us to be safe and fully realized and healthy in our global world. It doesn't take care of the earth as far as I understand it. And so my job isn't just to fight that, but it's rather to dream. to dream about how we build a world right here, right now, and in the future. How do we dream it up collectively of what we want? And I also have to want for those motherfuckers that created Project 2025, I have to want for their wellness too. So that, because we're one, right? You are my other me. Everyone's wellness is one. It doesn't mean that what they think is right is what we should be doing. It's literally how do we all be more human? How do we fully express ourselves? How do we make that space so that they can get whatever healing that they need? Which is why I wanted to talk about the TV show Adolescence in a moment. All right, I don't know. Oh, so what I think is essential for artists right now in our time is that we are creating theater forms that create the experience of belonging, because we're all animals and we're not the savviest of, we're not the most fierce animals, right? We don't have big scary teeth. We don't have like sharp edges. Like we're really just these soft, fleshy little creatures. And the only reason that we are still alive is because of community. We survive because we are a collective that works together. And when we stop working together, we stop surviving. And right now there seems to be people that want to divide us and fight like territorially for things like power and other things that are important to them, but they will become extinct too, right? It's not, yes. So in thinking about theater, in thinking about art I want to make, and thinking about what is actually useful to other people, how do we genuinely create experiences of belonging where everyone knows their inherent divinity, right? That they are of God, of goddess, of whatever that is, that we're all one. And how do we do that without needing to exclude any one group of people? How can our art envision what that world is that we want? All right, I feel like I'm repeating myself a whole bunch and I don't know how clear I am, but thank you to the friends that are hanging in there and to the ones who are rewatch this. Okay, so that was sort of my amazing Grotowski weekend. I'm so grateful that I got to participate. I'm so grateful to all the artists that made it possible. Also want to give a shout out to Booty Miller, who's an incredible facilitator and educator. Booty did a 3-hour workshop in which I moved my whole body. And I could barely bend over and tie my shoes on Sunday morning. And I was dancing by Sunday evening with my whole body. It was kind of mind-blowing what was possible. But I felt so much release and so much healing. And yeah, how do we make that something to give away for others? All right, so that is the essential work of an artist. I want to go back quickly to the TV show Adolescence. If you haven't watched it, it's on Netflix. Check it out. Episode 3 is one of the most stunning pieces of television that I have seen in a long time. Probably because it really feels like theater. And I watched all 4 episodes and I thought there was more. So I was really confused when I went back. I was like, where's the rest of this series? Like, is a new segment coming out next week? But it's a limited series. It's only 4 episodes. And it's asking the question of what's going on with our young men in the world. And it's not giving too much away to say that there's a young woman who is murdered and there's a young man who's accused of doing this murder. And for me, I would immediately think, really? A woman is murdered and we're going to center guys? Like, we're going to talk about the poor guy and everything he's going through so we can relate to him more? Like, we need to relate to men more? However, that's my first angry impulse. And yet at the same time, we do need to ask, like, what is going on with these young men? What is going on with the violence, the Andrew Tate type culture that so many young men swung very, very far right and feel so alienated? And this show answers it, or not answers it. It asks these questions in a way that this feminist was not offended, and it wasn't so violent that I couldn't take it in either. It's not visually violent. So I'll also say that about it. But in the episode that was stunning to me, there is a therapist and there is a young man, and almost the entire hour is like a chess match between the two of them. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's stunning. after I saw it, I actually got an email and read a little bit about it, so I'm going to go back and watch it again. But apparently, this is really cool process-wise. They spent an entire week working it like you would a theater piece in beats, and then sort of putting it all back together, like the whole bit of text, because it's a whole hour. It's almost like a hour-long performance, like per play. You know, if you think like if a play is 2 hours or 90 minutes, it's almost a whole play between these two characters that they're filming. But even more than that, they shot it all in one take. Now, that's what the article said, and I have questions because in my mind I'm like, no, they definitely cut back and forth. I don't think that's true. I don't remember it, so I have to go back and watch it. However, what I read is that all of they spent a whole week just rehearsing with the actors, and then they spent a second week getting all of the technical things because if they really did shoot in one take, no one can make a mistake along the line, or at least everything has to be prepped and ready to go in order to film it all. And then they spent the third week filming. So they spent 3 weeks filming one episode. Wow, it's stunning. And as I was watching the show, it was, I felt a lot of emotions. There's a dad who like I care about when I watch him. And even though he's really like strong, and he's actually the creator of the show, he wrote it and he's like directing it. I think I don't know if he's the director, but he was part of the creation process and he's starring in it. And he's this real like lad's lad, right? Like a real strong, beefy kind of guy. Feels like a real protector, and he's so fragile. And I find that seems to be so true about so many men in our world, that they have to project this incredible strength, and yet their capacity to bear things, some things, seems not so actually strong. And by things, I mean like emotions, being able to tolerate certain discomforts, being able to feel parts of themselves and not block it off, cut it out, feel shame about it. And in actually the second episode, I think it was the second episode, somewhere in there, I was just marveling at the mom and the daughter who are also part of this hellish experience happening, and how the mother keeps trying to make it nice for everyone, and how when the dad loses his cool because he's rightfully angry, we feel him, right? It's so everything he's feeling and starts to express, we understand, like I get it, right? But it's like there's no space for her to have that truth because she has to hold him to have his experience. And the thing that it made me think about is that we all want our dignity. And I guess it means something different for each of us. What is dignity? What does your dignity mean to you? But there are many people in our culture who swallow their dignity a lot to survive. And it doesn't feel good for anyone. I would just say, like, as a woman, I feel like I've spent a lot of my life making myself smaller so that other people are comfortable, so that they feel good. I've not even intentionally, right? Like, I'm not intentionally manipulative. I'm literally just trying to be safe. I'm literally just trying to belong. But I've made myself less smart, less capable, less strong than I am. And it really takes a toll. And that's really why I created Hot Angry Mom. It was like this, something inside me was screaming for my own dignity, for my own sovereignty, for the right to create art and have some space for myself in my body, in my mind, in this culture where I got to define this. And isn't that what freedom is? Isn't that what America is supposedly is? Is this freedom for each individual to have that sovereignty, to create an authentic life that they want to live? And are we moving in that direction, or are we really just moving in that direction for one group of people that wish to subjugate everyone else into their vision so they can have that, and they're calling that right? I have a violent rage inside me about this because I have a need to protect what I love, who I love. So with that, I'm going to get to the last order of business, order of business. Who says that? I'm going to need to use my glasses as I'm going blind, friends. I'm smiling. I'm doing that thing to try to make nice. There's an article that I haven't, there's an article that I'm going to read to you, and I'll just comment as we go. So this week in the world, the article, the title of it is Breaking. The Trump administration freezes $35 million in Title X funding. The attack will leave 8 states without any federal family planning dollars. This was written by Jessica Valenti. She has a Substack. I'm actually a paid subscriber. She's the only Substack that I subscribe to at the moment, because she does a lot of research around reproductive freedom and what's happening in our country. And the Substack is called Abortion, Every Day. So Abortion Every Day has learned that the Trump administration is freezing close to $35 million in Title X funding that was set to be distributed Tuesday. This unprecedented move won't just hit Planned Parenthood affiliates. It will impact multiple nonprofit organizations, including at least one that may have been target retaliation for a lawsuit against the first Trump administration. Another group had millions in funding paused over a statement affirming their commitment to addressing systemic racism. I'm just letting myself breathe for a moment. Okay. The scale of this funding freeze is staggering. Starting on April the 1st, and where are we now? I think we're April the 8th. We are April the 8th. California, Hawaii, Maine, Missouri, Mississippi, Montana, Tennessee, and Utah will receive 0 Title X dollars. Most of Pennsylvania, Minnesota, and Alaska will lose access as well. Other states impacted include Connecticut, Idaho, Indiana, Kentucky, New Hampshire, not Nebraska, Ohio, South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia. Remember, Title X is the nation's only federal family planning program. It provides affordable reproductive health care, birth control, STI testing, cancer screenings, primarily to low and uninsured patients. I just want to say I don't know a single woman who hasn't benefited from Title X funding at some point in their lives. When they were teenagers, when they were in college, or when they were young women, when they were just starting out, whatever your feelings, it's like me, I'm trying to be a little PC here. I'm trying to respect other people's point of view, but I have really, really strong feelings here. And some of that is like connected to Hot Angry Mom, what I wrote. I've only been pregnant one time, and I had my son when I was quite young. And I definitely had him because I felt like that's what I needed to do to be a good person, not because I was necessarily ready to be a mother. I love him. He is the light of my world. I don't even need to fucking debate that. What I will say is I am grateful that I had the choice to make that choice, because if I didn't have that choice, I don't know if I actually could have raised him the way that I did. I raised him with so much love because I love him so much, because I chose to make that choice. But when something happens to you against your will, it is so deeply, deeply traumatic. We as a country do not take care of women and girls. We don't give them adequate health education about their bodies. We are not providing reproductive planning with enough widespread support and accessibility for everyone, so that everyone is able to use appropriate contraception should they not want to start a family. We for people that want to have children, we do not have adequate health care, family leave, support. Like even Congress voted. They didn't vote. What's his face? Johnson blocked a vote that would allow Congress members who had new children to Zoom into work versus having to vote on the floor when they have new children. We're not a country that actually gives a fuck about mothers. We have Mother's Day. We say mothers are sacred. We want to push women into being mothers, whether they're ready or not, whether they want it or not, but we don't want to take care of them afterwards. All right, I'm going to read you more of the article. I know, like you're probably feeling this too, but I don't know. It's just so frustrating to me because I know people that I love who really think that abortion is murder of a baby and not health care that a woman gets to have with her doctors. It is life-saving care. Sometimes it's just dream-saving care, right? To save someone's dream. And I would say that a woman's dream is a real thing and is fucking important, right? It's not something to be dismissed. So she can carry a fetus and raise a child that she may or may not be prepared for, that she may not be able to take care of adequately. Because there's nothing more painful than failing your child because you can't take care of them properly. Ugh. And I have a friend who was telling me that her mother, who is a doctor, is also Catholic, is a one-issue voter. And so she voted for Trump simply because she did not want abortion services to be legal. I think, and I could be wrong, that people who do not support reproductive health care and abortions do not understand how intertwined that choice of your own body is with feminism, is with freedom, is with equal rights. I lost someone in my little ragey cry. Somebody who was here with us. Fuck you! I don't fucking care. Okay. Here we go. Sorry, back to the article. I'm in and out. Here we go. There's no overstating the impact here. Title 10 is a safety net. 6 in 10 women visit a publicly funded clinic, consider it their usual source of medical care. And I think, for 4, I think it's like maybe 1 in 4, it's their only source. I just want to say, Planned Parenthood is where I went for contraception. Planned Parenthood is where I went for cervical and cancer screenings. It's life-saving, and it's not the only place that's being defunded. All right, so this is an attack on poor people and an attempt to dismantle public health. Now we know something was coming. Last week, the Wall Street Journal reported that the Trump administration planned to strip Planned Parenthood of Title 10 funding under the guise of targeting DEI initiatives. What no one expected was the sheer number of non-Planned Parenthood groups targeted and how blatantly cherry-picked the cuts appear to be. One of the organizations impacted, for example, is Converge, Inc. The Title 10, sorry, the edge of my little article that I printed out is cut off. The Title 10, I think the word is grant, for Mississippi and parts of Tennessee. Abortion Every Day obtained the letter to Converge by the Department of Health and Human Services through a source outside the grantee network. In it, HHS notifies the group that their funding is being withheld based on possible violations of federal civil rights